Let's bring in legal expert and analyst Andrew Lieb with more on this. Andrew, thanks for being with us. We were talking to you about this story just last week. I was struck by the fact that the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals really in their order going after Judge Eileen Cannon. What did you make of that?
I thought it was very interesting. It was as much of an indictment of Judge Cannon, who actually originally took this case and appointed the special master, as Trump himself. And the simple reason is, and it reads on the first paragraph of the order from the 11th Circuit, and to differentiate, there was an order today from Judge Cannon, but the 11th Circuit decision simply stated you had no jurisdiction, and that means power to hear the case in the first place. They said a criminal defendant shouldn't be able to end run the subpoena and go seek redress instead of going through the normal system of the rules, which we all have to do if we're the subject of a subpoena. She got remanded by them.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Andrew, when you think about it, the fight the Trump legal team went through to just get the special master appointed, Raymond Dearie was his name. He's no longer obviously, has to do the job that judge required him to do. But they went to great lengths to, have the special master kind of pour over and piece out some of the items that the FBI had taken in their search. And now this, all for naught. Would you agree?
I agree. And what's interesting is after the 11th Circuit made their decision, said there's no jurisdiction, they said, we're going to give you 7 days before Special Master Dearie is done. And they said, we're going to give you the 7 days, Donald Trump, because you can ask for what's called an en banc review instead of just 3 circuit court judges. The whole circuit could hear it, or you could seek leave to go to the Supreme Court. 2 routes they made available for him and gave him a time period to do it. He didn't do it, and that's because I believe how strong the 11th Circuit wrote their decision, tearing apart each and every one of his arguments, saying if you don't have a constitutional right that was breached, you can't end run the subpoena until you're in court when a grand jury indicts you. That's the time to do it, not now.
Yeah, and Andrew, reports surfaced last week from some outlets as well that the Justice Department is doing everything in its power to possibly, retain and retrieve even more documents that might not be just at Mar-a-Lago, that might be in a separate location. So this is ongoing. Is it incumbent on the Trump legal team to just be upfront and say, okay, we're going to return everything. There is actually some things still outstanding, or maybe there's not. But don't they need to be a little more transparent about this?
I think the best way to say it is, to date, they're out of their mind. They have to sign a document to say they return the documents. And it's not just they have to sign the document. They have to swear to it as the Trump lawyers. And if you remember back when the search originally happened, and we heard about this originally, one of the attorneys who signed it, they played who's responsible. They were blaming each other. And we said right then that attorney better get an attorney. So it is incumbent on an attorney who swears to the court that you've produced documents to make sure it's accurate. And if you're going to lie to the court, expect yourself to be the defendant in a criminal investigation. They got to get this right.
Yeah, and this led to this proceeding last week. This contempt proceeding. Fox News, though, confirming a federal judge declined to take any formal action at this time to hold former President Trump and some of his lawyers in contempt of court. That's according to Fox News correspondent David Spunt and according to 2 sources with knowledge of the proceedings. So where does this case go from here? We know that the Attorney General appointed a special counsel, Jack Smith, to look into their probe and to handle their probe. But what is the Trump legal team's strategy now? Just sit and wait?
Yeah, so there's something called Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure 41H. And what that is about is when you have a subpoena like this, you have a search warrant like this, and let's say eventually they do have the unfortunate feeling of being a defendant in a criminal case. That's when they would move the trial court in that criminal case and say, we want to suppress the evidence from the search. That's really their next move, and that was the move they should have done all along. So what they're doing is gamesmanship, and I think it's a Trump move overall. Punt the ball, push it back, push it back, push it back. Let's not fight today. So I think part of their strategy is delay. part of it is that Trump knows how to work the media, and part of it is they haven't jeopardized their fact to move to suppress evidence, which I think is really the war we're going to see. That's the exciting one in the future, assuming Trump gets indicted.
Yeah, and you just that was a good segue to my next question. Everyone is asking themselves, will this result in an indictment from the former president? And obviously that remains to be seen. You know, we don't have to speculate here. But there are, legal analysts, probably like yourself, who are saying that if the former president were to be indicted on any number of these cases he is facing, this is the one.
Yeah, this one, he's got all sorts of problems on. He has problems in New York, too, though, I have to tell you, and he has problems in a lot of cases. But the big thing for Trump and also for the prosecutors, you got to remember, you need 12 unanimous jurors to agree he did the problem. And in this divided country, it's going to be a very hard job for any prosecution to get Trump be guilty. And I don't know that they want to indict unless they feel like they have that slam dunk testimony to get him, when he's a former president with so much political clout. It's not just a legal war, but a political war, too, and it's a hard one.
You know, Andrew, I just thought of something. Back to my original question regarding Judge Eileen Cannon. Above board, in your view, do you think she should even entertain this? Should it have gotten to the appeals court in the first place?
Well, I think there's two different questions. Is it legally right, and is it above board? I don't think we have any evidence of judicial impropriety that occurred. There were people calling for her impeachment, but I think those are political gamesmanship. That said, from a legal view, it was legally wrong from the beginning. You see, she wasn't the person who signed the subpoena. So assuming that we were doing a motion for the return of the property, that would go to the judge who signed the subpoena.
Right.
They tried to end run that judge and go to her. It's been gamesmanship from the beginning. She should have said on day one, I don't have jurisdiction. I'm the wrong judge. Go away.
All right, Andrew Lieb, as always, thanks so much for that analysis. It's a story we're going to keep following here on Live Now. And Andrew, we'll talk again. Have a good night.
Thank you.